Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start off by some of the comments or responding to some of the comments I heard earlier today about we can't do any good immediately because it'll take a while to build. And I'm reminded that they believe that there's a lot of natural gas, maybe some oil, off the coast of Virginia, and that in 2004, when I was a member of the Virginia House of Delegates, we begged, let us start on the research, let us get going, and the criticism then was it will take 6 to 7 years, it's not going to do any good. We're still waiting. If we had started in 2004 like we had requested when we sent the request to the governor to ask for the ability for him to ask for the president to give us that authority, we'd already be getting natural gas and hopefully some oil off the Virginia coast. So when I hear that argument, I'm reminded, well, it'll never happen if you don't start at some point. Also, in response to recent questioning, although I think you answered it earlier, Dr. Urban, you said that the time is now because not only do you need to get started if you're going to do these kinds of things, but the contracts are coming up in a few years, and if they see that a competitor is on the way, that will affect the negotiations and the discussions and whether or not natural gas is used by a weapon by the Russians. Is that, am I correct in my assessment of your previous testimony? Okay. And let me let you all know that I represent an area that produces coal and natural gas. So, Mr. Ditzel, let me ask you this. For vibrant manufacturing sector, wouldn't we also be well advised to not strangle our coal industry by regulations? Wouldn't you agree with that as well? I assume you're pro-coal as well as pro-natural gas usage?
Well, I'm not pro-coal or pro-gas. I just want to say specifically to address your point that for the coal industry, it's going to be hamstrung by the EPA, by MATS. We're going to see a number of retirements, and the EPA has a number of proposals ready to affect the coal industry even further on carbon pollution. And coal is a backstop for natural gas. So if there's not a lot of options, the gas prices will rise as a result because there's no backstop to relieve the gas. Specifically in the electricity market, it's nuclear and wind, and those are expensive options.
Well, and even in manufacturing of certain products, certain plastics and so forth, you can use oil, natural gas, or coal. And so we're negatively impacting the market that way. And would you also advocate that we not export coal for that same reason, so we'd have a greater supply in the United States?
Well, to address your point about coal and the use of coal for chemical processes, we've seen that in China, and China has put our technology in the U.S. to good use. And their chemical industry is built primarily on U.S. technology using coal. But we can't do that here in the U.S. because of a lot of the regulations associated with using coal in industry.
And I appreciate that. And we certainly don't want to hurt a manufacturing sector if we can help it, but clearly it's under assault from a number of different directions. Dr. Montgomery, if I could ask you, previously in some of your testimony back in April of 2013, you indicated that it looked like prices, if we exported, might rise 25, 50 cents, somewhere in that range. I think you said today it looks like it might be $1. Is that accurate? Somewhere in that range if we export?
Yes, if we export, I would say across most of the scenarios that we looked at, we either had no price increase because it didn't turn out to be economic to export. Certainly if we had $8 gas in the United States, nobody would want to buy it overseas. That actually is the EIA low oil and gas resource case. So if we add a couple dollars, so it doesn't much matter what we do about exports in that case. Nobody's going to want to buy it, and the manufacturing industry is going to be killed off probably by our excessive regulation of natural gas. So got to look at the scenario, but the only cases in which we found that we have high levels of exports of natural gas are ones where it is so cheap to produce that the price of gas stays lower than it is.
All right, and I'm running out of time, so let me ask you this, because my gas folks tell me back home that we have so much natural gas in this country that we haven't even tapped into yet, that if the price remains above $4 in the $5 range, that there will be more production, which then offsets any price increases. Is that what you're basically saying, is that the production capabilities in this country are so great that there won't be an increase of any significant amount in the price because they'll produce more because they can still make a profit at $4,
Yes.
$5, $6?
That's exactly what I'm saying, that we will see that most of the exports are satisfied by increased production. There won't be much of a price increase, and whatever price increase there is going to be far less than the cost advantage manufacturing already has over those poor rivals who have to import the gas and pay as much to move it to their countries as it costs us to buy it here.
I appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, I yield back. I do have additional questions to submit for the record, and I assume that we'll do that at the end of the hearing.